how many people have heard of NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement? Passed in 1993 under another Democratic president, President Clinton. Once again, I would say this TPP really is a NAFTA of the Pacific. It's just bigger. And once again, it's strong rights for investors and weak protections on jobs and trade and U.S. sovereignty and food safety and the environment and human rights, telecom workers, financial regs. I'm going to focus mostly on labor issues and jobs because I think there's other qualified speakers to hit the others. But I just want to put it in the context of really a 50-year corporate strategy, maybe 40, but the idea is to dismantle any of the positives, you know, the last 50, 60 years going all the way back to the New Deal. So in the 30s when we passed Social Security and the right to organize unions, or in the 60s, Medicare and Medicaid and civil rights, and in the 70s, OSHA and right to know. All those kinds of protections that workers and communities have fought hard for. They want to reverse. And so I, as a GE worker for the last 36 years, we've seen this very up close and personal. When I went to work at GE, there was 12,000 workers. 8,000 of us were union workers. Now we're down to 1,600. Some of them were the best jobs around, good pay, health care, pensions, thing called a defined benefit pension, where you actually knew what you were going to get. So what we've seen through NAFTA is a process touted by the former CEO, Jack Welch, which said, you know, ideally, you'd have every plant you own on a barge. So he could do what? He could shop it around wherever wages are lowest. And that set up a race to the bottom that's hit hard. First, manufacturing workers who are pretty much wiped out, and those of us who are left are fighting for the wages and benefits. And now it's the attack has moved to the public sector and white-collar workers. So that now, you know, we're fighting to raise the minimum wage. It hasn't, you know, come up in years in terms of real wages. So stats I've seen have said in NAFTA we lost 700,000 to 1 million jobs, and it hasn't benefited either U.S. or Mexican trade workers or Mexican workers. The Korean trade agreement, they said they would add jobs, and estimates that we've lost 40,000. And estimates with this TPP, with adding Vietnam and Japan, that's another 130,000 jobs. So how's another way that this comes up? We also used to have a plant called Amatec, where we made electronics that went on the jet engines. And GE basically told Amatec worker, at the Amatec management, you are going to build a plant in Mexico. We now have 20 workers left. They built a beautiful plant on the border of Mexico in Reynosa. Beautiful plant. Workers live in shacks. We know because one of our members went down and saw it. And Mexican workers from independent trade unions have been in our union halls recently, 2 years ago, telling us NAFTA was told it would help them. Surprise, surprise, it hasn't. They talk about farmers thrown off the land. They can't compete with U.S. corn. They move to factories along the border, and then they cross the border to get work. And this union guy had said it was very much connected to the trade, the drug wars in Mexico, because people can't find jobs. So capital can move freely, and workers are tracked down like criminals. That's NAFTA for you, and I think it's going to get worse with this. So I talked about how what's happened has crippled union density in the private sector. We're down to 6.6%. With that goes standard of living, wages, benefits. The one other example out of the TPP is the Vietnamese minimum wage is just 28 cents an hour. So our workers in competition with that. A couple other things about TPP. It's negotiated secret. I think you heard about that. 600 corporate lawyers are represented, including GE, Verizon, and Walmart, other lovely suspects. And the full text won't be available for 4 years. So I see this as a power grab. Corporations can also sue governments over loss of expected future profits. So what can that be? Almost anything. We've seen that with NAFTA. $400 million have been awarded, mostly against poor countries. Dozens of suits are pending. I think it threatens labor, environmental, food safety, sweatshop-free, Buy America, all those kinds of laws. So I want to say a few things about Fast Track Authority. I was also asked to talk about where it stands in Congress. So the last bill expired in 2007. That's why they need to pass it again. It means Congress has 90 days to review 1,000 pages, then vote the bill up or down, no changes. So it takes away their right to change a bad bill. So in the House, my understanding, the broadest unity, one strategy, at least from our union, that's been going crazy nationally over this, is to deny them fast track. In the House, 151 Democrats signed something called the DeLauro letter opposing fast track. There's another 40-something more. In Massachusetts, I have some new news. Most have signed it. Capuano has his own letter, and now Catherine Clark has her own letter as of Thursday. We got the AFL-CIO to deny, in Massachusetts, to deny her endorsement. So she came back and said, okay, what can I do? We said endorse DeLauro letter, and she came out with a letter opposing fast track. Capuano has done that. It's Neil in western part of the state who thinks he can craft some kind of a deal. Anybody's got connections to Neil, we need to get on him. Now Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi have come out against it in the Senate, but I think the fights in the House, the latest I'm hearing is there's worry about if we stop it now, that they may try to pass this during the lame duck session in November. So we have to keep up the pressure. We were able to stop FTAA. I think we can do it. It's really exciting to see all of you here. Thank you.